Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time, I'm hoping you'll stick around to see our homeschool journey. My name is Jamie. I'm a homeschool mama of 3 boys. They are aged 7, 6, and 14 months old. I used to be a public school educator. I taught grades kindergarten, 2nd, and 3rd before I decided to stay home and homeschool my children. In today's video, I wanted to share with you my history homeschool curriculum. I use buildyourlibrary.com. It is written by Emily Cook, and I use this for level 0, and we are currently doing level 1. She does recommend 1 level per year, but for level 1 there was so much stuff in that ancient civilization that I'm actually breaking it up into 2 years. So we did level 1 last year, and we're going to continue level 1 next year, and we will finish it before we'll move on to level 2. I'm going to leave a link down below for her website where you can look at her curriculum. I really love her curriculum. She's all about teaching kids history through living books or through read-alouds, and I agree with that philosophy that you can learn a lot by reading to your children and doing activities with your children. So this curriculum just spoke to me, and I've been using it since I started homeschool. This will be my 3rd year using this curriculum. This is my history curriculum that I use. I used level 0 2 years ago, and then I used level 1 last year, and we only did about half of this, and we're going to finish level 1 this year. This curriculum is from buildyourlibrary.com, and I will leave a link down below. It's written by Emily Cook, and she does a phenomenal job. I love this curriculum. I love the level 0, and I'm in love with level 1, and we're going to continue it. Level 1 is for grade 1 or ages 6 through 8. And I do this with both my kindergartner and my 1st grader last year, and they were 5 and 7. This upcoming year they'll be 6 and 7 turning 8. And just what it looks like. It has an introduction. It has a book list, and this is all the books that you will need or that you recommend. What I do is I do blue if I buy the books, and I do them pink if I can get it from our local library. And then she has optional books, and some of this is like the science. I use some of the science, but I use this science not with this curriculum. I use it for my nature studies, which I will be doing a video on my nature studies. The art, I bought both of these books. I really like the art books, but I use them again, not when I'm teaching history. I use them for when I'm teaching art. And I'll do a detailed video on my art curriculum as well. Also, they have a literature section. Again, I read these books to my children, but I read them to them as chapter books for our read aloud time, not when I'm actually doing this curriculum. When I sit down and I'm teaching my kids the actual history portion, I just stick to those books in the beginning. It does have some cards here you can print out, cut out, and do these activities. I skipped this part completely with my kids last year. They have a copy work. I skipped this as well, and they have poetry memorization. We did do the poetry book. We read the poems during our nature study time because it was nature poems, but I did not make my children memorize them. Again, they have nature journals, which we do during our nature curriculum time. Okay, so this is what each week looks like. It has an overview, and it tells you this curriculum focuses on the ancient world, and it'll say week 1, and it'll tell you what you're going to read for history that week. And then it'll tell you what you're going to do for mythology, but we skipped this year for my children. I didn't even do the mythology part. It tells you what you'll be doing for poetry, which is where I did that in my nature studies. And then it tells you what book you're reading. The Tale of Despero was first, and I did this as a read aloud to my children just during our read aloud time. And then the science, again, that would go with that nature study. The art I put with my art. So the only thing I really focused on for the actual history portion was the history at the top. So this is a week overview, and then she breaks it down. My book is a little out of order, I'm sorry. Into week 1, day 1, and she tells you exactly what you would do. So that she'll tell you the history reading, the key idea there. Then she'll give you some history activities and some optional books that you could read with your child. She also goes into the other parts, the literature, the copy work, the memory work, the science. But like I said, I did do these, but I did them at a different time during the day. I would spend only 30 minutes about twice a week on history, and I did not want that time to be muddled with reading regular read aloud books or with doing science activities. I only focused on the history part. You can see it does week 1, day 2. Week 1, day 3, and I put this here for a science note. Week 1, day 4. Again, you can see there's a history activity. This one was do an archaeology dig in your backyard. It says choose a few small items and then let the kids see how archaeologists dig for clues, because the book you're reading that week was Archaeologists Dig for Clues. And this was kind of like a intro to what is ancient history, how do we know about ancient history. And then week 1, day 5, again, history activity. And then you would come to your week 2. And then it would go through week 2 the same way. At the very back of this, they do have an appendix with activity pages and maps. And see, here was an interview a relative. Nomadic tribes today. This was design a Scarafagus. I'm not sure, that was with ancient Egypt. Then you would compare and contrast two pharaohs from that time. When you got into the Greek alphabet, just different little, and then here's the maps. And there's a bunch of maps. And then it also has timeline pieces that you could put on your timeline, and I will show you my timeline at the very end. However, I am friends or follow a Facebook group for this curriculum. I followed level 0 and then I followed level 1. And on it, someone had made a colored copy of these. So I actually do the colored copy because my kids like it better than the actual black and white that she has in her. Look, and you can see we still have a lot of timeline to fill in. We are only up to week 11. That's as far as we got in this curriculum last year. We will continue it next year. I did want to show you some of the books that it comes with, or some of the books I purchased. So this is the book that you will use. This is a spine book. You use this one a lot. The Usborne Internet Linked Encyclopedia of World History. So, and you mainly use like the back parts. And then what I like about this is it's from Usborne, and I actually bought it off Thrift Books, and I can leave a link down below for Thrift Books. I like Thrift Books because I can get books discounted. But it also has internet links, and if you go and put that link in, and then you put what page number you're doing in the book, it will give you activities and articles and photographs and different things to look at that will focus on this page. So I really like that portion of it, and you can see in here it'll tell you like this week, that day you read 110 and 111. I want to show you so you can see you read it here and you read it here. So you did this encyclopedia about twice a week. You would read from this and do the little internet linked activities. I also did the Story of the World. This is another spine. You'll be reading it the entire time. You can see you read it on day 1 and on day 3 here. And the Story of the World does have activity guide that you can buy with it. I did not buy that because for this curriculum you didn't really need it. You just needed the Story of the World. I did buy I bought a lot of the read alouds, but some of the read alouds I did do during the history portion because it focuses on history. This was a great book. It was the Egyptian Diary, the Journal of Naki, a young scribe. When we studied Egypt, I read this book to my kids. It is linked in there. They loved this book. Next year we'll be focusing in on Rome, and when we get to Rome there is one on Rome too, and I am looking to buy it. We're also going to start these next year, and I do feel like these will talk more about, I'm going to do these during the history portion, maybe during our read aloud, I'm not sure yet, because I do feel like this is ancient, mythology is really important in ancient Rome. So I found this book at a used book sale, and I picked it up because it was talking about the Egyptians. I got this book, 50 Hands-On Activities to Experience Ancient Egypt, and I pulled from here this year. Like a pyramid. There's the hieroglyphic alphabet, and I did have a book on this, but I think it's already, I didn't pull it out for the video today, but it was a book all about hieroglyphics. We worked in this one a little bit. We're going to continue with this one next year because we're stopped in the middle of ancient Egypt. You can see I already printed some of it out. But this, I love these little history pocket books. These are so much fun, and I'll show you an example of my kids' work. And we're going to start with this one next year. We didn't do this one this year. I'm sorry. We did another one that I have up here. I'll show you it as well. But we're going to be doing this next year. And you can make a timeline. And I just kind of pick and choose what I want to do out of here. Like I normally would just read this to my kids. I don't print that part. But then I would have them do like the dress like an Egyptian woman, dress like an Egyptian man. I would let them make these little puppets. I would let them make this little necklace about jewelry. We would make the little book if you lived in ancient Egypt. And some of it we would skip, some of it we would do, but I really like these books. I also bought one for ancient Greece. It's about ancient Greece, and it's very similar to the ancient Egypt one. And I'll also be doing it next year. And it talks about just different sections. And it has different little activities that you can do with your kids. With the ancient Greece, I also bought Exploring Ancient Greece. 25 projects, activities, and experiments that we'll do next year with them. I like having these extra books just to add some more to the history portion. And she did recommend this one. This was a book that she recommended, The 5,000-Year-Old Puzzle, and it deals with ancient Egypt. She recommended this as a read aloud. I found this book at a used book sale, and I just picked it up. I'm not even sure what I'll do with it, but I know we will talk about ancient Rome, so I thought I could pull something out of this book, maybe. So it just has a lot of different information in it. Like I said, I'll try to look at it and see if there's something I can pull out for my kids. Another book that I found that I just thought was very cool was Mount Olympus Basketball, that I'll read when we get into Rome. And it was just a read aloud that I got from a sale, and I thought the kids would really like it. The Great Wall of China is a book we would read when we get to ancient China. This was one of her read alouds that she recommended buying. Pompeii Buried Alive is one that she recommended doing as a read aloud with the kids. I found this at the Dollar Tree and I just picked it up. I just thought the kids would like it. And it has a section on ancient Egypt, ancient China, ancient Greece, ancient Rome, which is really what we will cover. It also has medieval, which will be the next level 2 that we'll be getting. Another book that I bought was Famous Figures of Ancient Times. And I got this at a consignment sale for $8 at a used homeschool store. Some of these we'll use and some of these won't, but they make little puppets. And so, like, I know we did Narmer last year. We did Khufu last year. It just has different ones in them. We did Hammurabi. And it has biblical ones too that we could do with when I read the Bible stories to them. We can just print these out or do these, and they can do the punch of these two. But this, and some of these we'll be doing next year because we haven't got there to those people yet. I know for a fact we're doing Alexander the Great next year. Caesar we'll do next year. Caesar Augustus we'll do next year. And then this one is my favorite, and this is the one we did the most last year with my kids. It is for grades 1 through 3. We did this one a lot last year. And I'm going to show you an example of my kids' work. So we did this one first with what is history. We did this like the first week. And this is like a little tab. And there's their vocab. And then it had a timeline. It had, I just read these to my kids. I didn't print that part out. It had a ancient civilization map. And then we did this one. And again, it has the vocab. It gives you like a little information about it that I just read to my kids. And then there's your puppets that we did. And then there's little activities that go along with it. Sailing on the river. This is a pop-up book. Ancient Egypt. Then there's the Egyptian puppets. Map of the Nile River. And we started Egypt before summer started for our school, and we're going to begin with Egypt next year. Here's ancient Greece, which I know we'll do this part next year. And again, it just has different little activities in it. My kids really like this book. Ancient Rome, which I know will be the portion for next year. Ancient China. It did already do China, but it does come back to China later. So we did a lot of these activities already for China because we've already touched on China in the curriculum, but I do know that the curriculum did show China again later. And here's the ancient Aztec world. Okay. I've already got it in my son's binder for next year, and I am going to be doing a flip through of their binders and how I organize their work for the year. But it's already in his binder for next year. So we did the map here. And then here, this was like the first section, and we just made little pockets, and it says, what is history? And here we put a timeline. And then these are his vocab words, and they just write them. And then he made some little puppets. Some of the stuff was too big to fit in the pockets, so they've lost it. They like to play with these. Here's ancient China. He has his puppets in here. He has a little dragon that we made that talks about the new new Chinese New Year. Here was the numbers, and it made little lanterns, and we put them on like a little string. And then there's a map of ancient China, and there's his vocabulary words. And then here's ancient Egypt, which we did start before. Here's his puppets for those. We did his vocabulary words this way this time. I was just trying different ways to do their vocabulary. And then we did this little thing about the Nile River. We also made a pyramid, but it was like a pop-up pyramid, and it wouldn't fit in here, and I have no idea what they did with those. They took them upstairs to play with them in their bedroom. So that's kind of the activities we do with this. Like I said, I normally do ancient history about twice a week. We get to ancient history, and it's only about 30 minutes every time, and we just do different. I do whatever it says in here, and then I see what else I can pull in to do for activities for my kids. And then sometimes she'll have science experiments. And here, like this day, we put up the timeline page. This is our history timeline. I just put it on a anchor chart. It just says history timeline. I just drew that, and then we put our pieces up as we learn about them. And I'll just continue it on this paper.